Okay, everybody, welcome back. It's Sunday. Hallelujah. And have I got a broadcast for you today? We are going headfirst into XRP, the quantum financial system, and the XRPL. Now, if that's not for you, I understand. Thank you for making the attempt. But we've got a lot of important information to go over today. This is what I can tell you. If you can't answer questions correctly about the information we're going to cover today, you are going to lose millions of dollars. And not just millions. Let's add the T word and possibly even beyond with some of the wallets, some of the bags that people have. This is the deepest insider intel you will ever come across. There isn't another influencer in the XRP army, in the XRP community that knows this other than myself and the amount of time and research and the guidance and the revelation from the Lord to be able to sit here today on a Sunday morning, having just stayed up all night to prepare for this video. And God just flipped the script. I had all these slides ready to go on a bunch of different stuff. And he said, Dave, we need to go in a different direction for everybody. Because if people do not understand what my creation and my plan was for XRP on the XRPL in the quantum financial system, they're not going to reach the potential that I had prepared for them. They're not going to receive the level of provision that only I could provide. See, this isn't coming from man, everybody. God created this before time began. So sit back, get ready to be amazed, and I'll be right back with you. Hold on. I'm back. And what the Lord just told me, I'm just going to give it to you how He gave it to me. He said, Dave, let everybody know that I'm done with all these paid influencers who've been out there selling lies and disinformation. Now, you all got a flavor for that this morning when you saw the video he had me post over on Twitter. I don't have anything against these people. I've tried to help them. I've tried to bring them along. And they have not responded one time, not one time, since April 3rd of 2021. They have continued the false narrative. They've continued to operate as money changers, doing XRP events, never talking about the real issues. Now, if they're being handled, which they probably are, then they have to ask themselves why they allowed it. Because God isn't taking it. They're not going to come to God and say, well, God, you know what? They asked me to do this, and, because they're willing to pay me and I needed the money, I did it. God says, who do you serve? Oh, Holy Spirit. Oh, here it comes. Who do you serve? Do you serve God or do you serve man? Let that question sink in. Because if you're serving man right now, you might want to change your agenda. I know there were people that were assigned to try to handle me as handlers. God read me in on the script. Do you think I told them that? No. But there came a time when they realized I knew that I knew. And they left in a hurry. To the point where they just literally told me, I can't do this anymore, Dave. Bye. What? They were gone like the wind. Because they realized that I served God. And I didn't serve man. I didn't expect that this morning. Wow. Nice long pause here so everybody can catch their breath. That's a lot for some of you people out there to handle. But I know who you are. I know who you are. And I continue to reach out. But you never reach back. Over and over and over and over and over again. Through the love of God, I've made every attempt. But the money and the ego was just too overpowering. So you get what you get. It is what it is. But the people I'm talking to today, the people that follow, that share, and like God's content, this is for you. This is for you. He wants you to understand, which I know you already do, exactly what's going on. But see, this has been a test these last couple weeks. And I've posted on this. The Alliance has been putting out disinformation, false information, to see how many of the paid influencers, would grab it, pick it up, and blast it out there. And I have to tell you, some of the people that did that, I never thought that they were paid influencers. I mean, whoever thought that Wendy O was a paid influencer? Crypto, Mahler, all these people, they're all paid. Pitboy, paid. Did he ever disclose it? No. Do you realize that these people had a financial and regulatory obligation to post and announce that they were being paid for sponsorships, for promos, for videos? The Alliance didn't look away from that. They gathered all that information. It was transcribed, it was reported, it was recorded and stored. There's only one way between now and your redemption center appointment And God has a strong message about this. You either get your act together or you're not going to be here. The earth is being cleansed of all evil. Now, if you want to check out right now, God bless you. But if you have a true heart for humanity and you want to be here the next 200 years with your family and friends in an environment of love, then continue on. You owe it to yourself. Now, you don't have to believe anything that I say. I'm not here for your opinion. I'm not here for you to critique the work that God has had me do. He's the master critique. Because this wasn't given permission to go out until we were finished. And like I said, I had started to prepare, 50 other slides. And this is what we got for today. God said, this is the message, Dave. This is what is most important for people to understand. And if you're not into XRP, why aren't you? You've been listening to a false narrative that was created, first off, to protect XRP. Because it's not what you think it is. And I alluded to that in the last video. It is the best kept and guarded secret on the face of the planet, next to the Zim bond pricing. And isn't it interesting how the XRP buyback price that was calculated using base 10 math and strategic and critical information about the creation of XRP, how many were minted, posts that David Schwartz made, 2017, 2018, and he continues to drop the pearls and nobody knows how to pick them up. Why? Because the community has been brainwashed, literally brainwashed, using MKUltra techniques to pick up the power phrases without ever understanding what they mean. But after today, you are going to be so smart when it comes to XRP. I mean, not just smart, but smart. You'll make some of these other people out there in the system, and I'm just going to name names. Bradley Kimes, DAI investor. Zach Rector, Jake Claver, Linda P. Jones. All of these people, Mickle, look like third graders because they're the paid influencers that have been carrying the narrative to keep you confused, unhappy, and then wanting to fight back when they want to throw you another term. All with the intent of getting you to pick up a fence. That's all that XRP video was about, to get you to pick up a fence. Why? Because if you pick up a fence, it separates you from God. It's the smallest infraction. And you don't get through the redemption center with it. And I'm just not making that up. I've got intel none of you have ever seen. None of you have ever heard. And I can't say any more than that at this point. This comes from the Creator. This comes from people that are carrying out the plans. Other third-party credibility. I mean, credibility from God's enough. Come on. He says that it is. And if you can't believe that, then go listen to some talking head. Andy Scheckman. Go listen to these guys. See what they have to say about gold and silver and how the price is going to go here and all this great stuff. Frankly, it's just a bunch of crap. And you need to be aware of it. But we have to set a foundation. Okay? That's why I'm spending this opening time getting you prepared to understand. Now, are you supposed to use this to run out and go convert people? No. No, this is for you. That's what God said. Dave, this is what they need to understand. So there's no obligation to take this anywhere. Now, if you choose to do that, you got a great video to point to. But it's not up. I have to be careful how I say this. It's not our job to convert anybody in the same way when people are brought to the Lord. We're to show the love. The love is enough to open their heart, just enough for the Holy Spirit to do God's work. Okay? So with that, let's continue, and I want to show you exactly what's going on. But in this short little video, and I'm going to move it along just as quickly as I can, I promise. By the time we're done, you are going to know more than 99.9999999% of anyone out there holding XRP. I don't care if they have 1 million XRP. Chances are they do not know what you're going to learn right now. Okay? Oh, I'm just so excited. Oh, here we go. Okay, question number 1. Now, before we get going, I have to make this statement. Some of you right now are saying to yourself, no, not questions to answer. I don't like that. And you're going to check out. But I'm going to ask you this. Before you check out, I can tell you that if your response is to do this with regards to God's help right now, then go. Go ahead. Check out. If you've continued to turn your back on Him, even though He is your Creator, He's never left you. He's been with you 100% of the time. Even though the church, religion, taught you that he wanted to penalize you, that was a lie from the pit of hell. He's a loving Father. He's always had his arms open, wanting you, desiring to be with you, and to come home. But I promise you this, if you'll be patient and give this the time it deserves, I can tell you that once you're done, you'll know more than 99.999% of those posting and holding XRP. And because of that, you're going to reply in a post on Twitter to me, and I'm going to make sure that you get VIP treatment at the XRP Gala that we're going to be holding in Phoenix. And that's not bait, okay, to continue on. I believe if you're going to take the time to learn this, you should be rewarded for it, just as God is rewarding you. So if that's fair and you're willing to continue, let's go. Question number 1. This is where God kind of turned everything upside down on me. Okay? He taught me how to take exams, and I've talked about this. This is how you see a normal exam question, right? Question, ask the question, then it gives you the answers. You have to look for the answer, right? Well, he showed me years ago, and we're going to follow it to a T. You're going to see why. You never learn the answer to a question by knowing the possibility that there's one answer and 3 incorrect answers. You only learn the right answer. So when you see the question, the right answer just comes off the page. And you're gonna realize this. This is how I passed my insurance license in 8 minutes. 100 questions in 8 minutes, and didn't miss one question, and then had to sit there for 20 minutes. This is how I passed every other licensing exam that I took for the financial markets. Okay, so we're not going to just read the question and then read the answers. We're going to read the question and read the right answer. So that gets into your spirit. That gets into your database. Okay, so this is how I had originally set it up. God said, no, let's do it the right way, Dave. So here it is. Question 1, what's the primary function of XRP within the quantum financial system? Now, if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know there is a quantum financial system. The other 99.9999999% of the people do not know there's a quantum financial system. They do not know there's Nasara Jasara. They do not know there's a quantum realm. So already you're at the head of the class. You could teach this. So what's the right answer? What's the primary function? XRP is used for securing digital assets and facilitating liquidity in real-time transactions. Period. Securing digital assets. Now what I haven't been able to release yet is the true understanding of how XRP functions. You know, I could tell you that it's a digital asset collateral. It brings security, not a security. It brings security and the guarantee that no matter what could happen between the parties coming together to perform a transaction on the XRPL under the QFS, they have the backing. When I say they have the backing, oh my gosh. The minimum value of all of the quantum global liquidity reserve needed. It's already been calculated. I calculated it. $100 quadrillion. You divide that by 100 billion to keep it simple. So keep everything round. Minted tokens. And what falls out at the bottom is the answer to the question. How much is XRP worth? That's how you do the equation. You don't use market cap. Anybody that uses market cap, turn them off. They know nothing. They're just regurgitating a narrative that just shows how intelligent they are or how they are trying to dumb you down. Okay? The XRP is the master key. Without it, the XRPL under the QFS doesn't function. It's like take your car. Can you put, let's say that you have a Toyota. Can you put a Mercedes-Benz key in it and make it work? No. Dodge? No. Hyundai? No. Only that key will start that car. Only XRP starts the XRPL. Without XRP, it doesn't work. You can't just put Bitcoin in there or XLM or anything else. No, it doesn't function. So, question 1, what is the primary function of XRP? It's securing digital assets and facilitating liquidity in real time, period. Question number 2, which of the following accurately describes the XRPL? The XRPL is a decentralized blockchain designed for secure, instant, and low-cost global transactions. And I will tell you this, we could strike out low cost because it's all free. It's all free. The simple fact that there is a minute transaction cost for XRP right now, the moment the EBS goes off and it is accessible for the world, there is no more fee. There's no more transaction cost. The XRPL is already operating on Tesla-free energy in Cheyenne Mountain. So there won't be any need for it at all. Okay? Decentralized blockchain designed for secure, instant, and really zero cost global transactions. Next, question number 3. How does XRP enable instantaneous liquidity in the quantum financial system? Now, this is really good. This is kind of a new topic for everybody. Instantaneous liquidity. The narrative out there says XRP transacts in 3 to 5 seconds. That's all it can do, people. That's all it can do on our current internet. Well, once the EBS goes off, the quantum financial system operates in the quantum realm, people. It's not this crappy third dimension. All of the satellites that Elon Musk has put up there are already set up for quantum, faster than the speed of light. And that was already proved by the 2022 Nobel Peace Prize winners in physics. They proved that Einstein's theory of relativity equals mc squared was bound to the third dimension. And from that, the Lord has shown me and given me the equation that takes it into the quantum completely. And this is why it's the best kept guarded secret. It will do what could never have been done before, and why the foreign bankers, the Rothschild cabal, Khazarian mafia, fractionalized fiat currency system was so adamant in trying to knock it out. Because by XRP operating on the XRPL within the QFS, that's its plan and purpose. And you're going to see about that coming up. Okay, if you want to read these other possible answers for yourself, I'm going to leave you to do that in your own time, because those are just the narratives that are out there. Okay, but I will tell you this: everything is run on smart contracts on the XRP. Everything. Question 4. What makes XRP different from traditional cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin? Well, this isn't a popular topic right now. XRP is designed to facilitate fast, low-cost transactions and is backed by quantum financial principles. And see, when we say quantum, you have to understand, quantum isn't here, people. It's not operating on our internet. That's why XRP could only do 1,500 transactions per second. I've already proven in my white papers, and I have the substantiation to verify and back all this up. The speed for the quantum internet through Starlink into 5D quantum is instantaneous. It's limitless. If it has to run 100 quadrillion transactions per second, 365 days a year, 24/7, it doesn't even bat an eye. And I'll give you a great example of that. When I posted in the last video, I talked about the fact that I had been instructed to put out the post that said, oh, by the way, you can be paid at the end of every day in the new system. And the next day, Brad Garlinghouse comes out and says, you know, I've been thinking about it, and there's no problem getting paid at the end of every day, or every hour, every minute, or even every second, if that's what you want. And he says, like, the system, right? Stan doesn't breach his NDA. The system can handle all of that, no problem. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here? You got to stop listening to all these idiots out there that are just spewing garbage. They're not there to do you a service. They're there to make money on you watching their videos, buying their products, going to their conventions, and they're laughing all the way because all they care about is making a buck on you. And at the end of the day, they're all going to disappear. Literally, they're not going through the system. God's already told me that. They still have an opportunity, but at this point, if they continue to do what they do, they won't. They're not going to enjoy his new kingdom like we are. Okay? So what makes it different? XRP is designed to facilitate fast, and I try to keep these words small, but literally instantaneous, no-cost transactions backed by the quantum financial principles. And this is like 10 pages of information, but that's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin was designed as a store of value, but the only thing it holds is people's money. The Bitcoin itself is worthless. It doesn't do anything. Remember what it was designed for? Designed by the CIA and DARPA, so they could funnel all their child trafficking and body part harvesting and adrenochrome production money. Trump didn't put it into a strategic Bitcoin reserve to make it part of something. He did that to keep it away, to lock it up. They still haven't figured that out. The day the EBS goes off, that's the last day they ever have access to their money, as well as everybody else in the stock market, other than retirement accounts. Question 5. Why is XRP used by the 209 BRICS nations within the QFS? Did you know that? Did you know that all 209 nations came together into one accord to sign an agreement to all leave the fractionalized fiat currency system, to regain their sovereignty, and to be free from a debt-based system? That's why XRP is here, everybody. It's not here to handle cross-border payments. That's the lie. That's the narrative. Question 6. What is the key benefit of the quantum financial system compared to traditional banks? Well, let's talk about all of the paid influencers that continue to talk about CBDCs and central banks, and they don't know what they're talking about. The QFS is decentralized. It eliminates a debt-based economy. In God's new kingdom, we're debt-free. We're getting back everything that was stolen from us, going all the way back to Adam. Income taxes, mortgages, credit cards, loans, taxes, birth certificates, Social Security. And it enables instantaneous, secure transactions without the need for intermediaries. There's another 20 pages just talking about what it means to have an instantaneous and secure transaction. Through XRP in the quantum financial system, it governs and protects every single penny we have. And it does it in ways that we can't even think about yet. We'll come to learn about it. See, that's why you just don't show up at the redemption center thinking you can bring in all your garbage and walk in and get your money and walk out and go be more of what you are right now. It's not possible. You're an infection into God's new kingdom, like mold. It has to be eradicated. That's why all evil is being eradicated. Like, look at the words. Look at the words that Trump uses. Look at the words that are posted. Annihilate, eradicated, removed. Okay, it doesn't mean we just take them from one place and put them in another. No, they go off planet to where they're supposed to go. They're being raptured, people. You saw that in the last gematria. Okay? We're going to continue to move forward. Question 7. What role does the XRPL ledger play in ensuring the security of financial transactions? See, has anybody ever talked about this before? I don't hear Bradley Kimes talking about this. He won't even recognize God. Because he can't go here. Why? Because he's probably got a non-disclosure. Because he sold out. See, I don't have a non-disclosure. I work with the creator. He provides all the information. He is showing man what's to be done. They're not doing anything on their own. They're following his instructions. He created this system. It was created out of time and given to us in time. Now, you want to go think about something, go think about that. The answer is the XRPL provides a decentralized ledger that ensures fast and zero cost transactions. Now, here's the thing that blows everybody away. Globally. Wait a minute, Dave. We're just talking about the U.S., right? We're just talking about all the transactions that are going to happen here. No, people. We're talking about every single person in the world operating around the clock, making transactions that will only happen through XRP on the XRPL. Period. XRP on the XRPL for the quantum financial system doesn't need intermediaries. It doesn't need a bank. It doesn't need a credit union. And people are going to find out, why did I move money from my Quantum Access account and put it in my credit union or put it in a bank? Because I was scared. I wanted to know my money was here where I could walk in. That's the old system, people. And the faster people come to understand that you can do any single transaction you want, it's all secured, it's all done properly, no money leaves if there's any nefarious element in the transaction, and you'll stop using banks, you'll stop using credit unions. Why? Because you have a quantum phone, you have a quantum laptop, you have access to your quantum account, quantum access account, you have a quantum debit card that can't be hacked. Like I said before, you could literally take your wife, girlfriend, fiance, spouse, whatever, children, out for a wonderful day at the mall, go and have a wonderful, healthy meal now, and just leave your quantum debit card on the table. And that card cannot be used in any transaction other than by yourself. That's the assurance that we have with God's new kingdom QFS economy. Are you starting to understand the importance of XRP? It is so much more than what they would have you believe. And because you know this now, it can't ever be taken away from you. No one can ever tell you again that it's about banks. It's about cross-border payments. It's about how much gold the central banks are buying. It's not about anything that's being reported out there, people. That's why God said, R-E-S-T, resist every stupid thought. And he wasn't directing that necessarily to you. He was directing it so you were aware not to be listening to these other people who are filling people's heads with disinformation. You either own XRP or you don't, period. You were either called and you knew it the moment you heard it, saw it, thought about it, and it was like no one's going to take it away from you. Why do you think the XRP community as a whole is so loyal? It only takes the 1%. Question 8. How does XRP support the principle of sovereignty? Ooh, that's a new word. Did you know that on the 4th of March, when Trump had his joint session televised meeting with Congress and the House, senators, everybody, mandatory, that was the day that he was showing that our former republic had been restored, which had been stolen in 1871 with the D.C. Organic Act of 1871. It was originally created on March 4th of 1789. It's when our first Congress passed and formed our republic. Stolen in 1871, and Trump has restored it. So think about that. Everything that happened from 1871 until March 4th is canceled. It's over. It no longer exists. We are in our restored republic, which brings all of our sovereignty back. Not just for us, but for everybody in the world. And this is what allows us to trade directly with each other. So we're free from debt. We're free from central banking influence, which was all corrupt, designed to steal, kill, and destroy. The manipulation of currency by private entities, the foreign bankers, Rothschilds, Xerian Mafia. They're over. That system it's dead. Federal Reserve, dead. IRS, dead. One of the first things that happened when I came to Twitter, April 3rd, 2021, one of the first things I began to post about was the fact that God wanted everybody to know that we were going to see a remapping of our Federal Reserve and SEC. And we were going to have something that was brand new. It was gentle. It was kind. It wasn't there to do what had been going on before. And this is exactly what has now taken place. So the new system doesn't allow us to be taken advantage of. Isn't that awesome? Man, it just gets me fired up. Question 9. What is the major advantage of using XRP over traditional fiat currency in the global financial system? Caveat. If anybody's still talking about fiat currency, walk away. Walk away. They're paid influencers trying to slow you down, trying to distract you, trying to keep you off point. The answer, XRP is backed by quantum principles. And again, with the new quantum equations that God has dropped on me, that's a book right there when we say quantum principles. And when we say fast means instantaneous. Faster than the speed of light. We've rewritten that whole equation. Our new equation is called the quantum bridge equation. It's frictionless. It's limitless. It's boundless. And it handles every single transaction in a secure way. And we don't use the word borders anymore. It's across the world. No intermediaries. No central control. So all this talk about SWIFT, it's just a bunch of baloney. SWIFT was gone 2 years ago. But they keep bringing it up because they're trying to slow everybody down and keep everybody confused. And they just keep throwing things out there to keep people, grabbing the buzzwords. But again, fiat currency was debt. It was a debt-based system, slavery. We were property, and they were using us to make money on. And all that money went to the crown. And after they took their cut, it circled around, paid off everybody in government, Congress, senators. That's how someone could come in with a net worth of $52,000 and 10 years later be worth $800 million because they all got paid off. But see, what people didn't know is they compromised them. They drugged them. They put them in compromising situations and videotaped them and told them that their lives would be ruined. So you don't get rid of the bad people that you now have control of by bringing in good people. So they did whatever they could do to fund them and manipulate the system, excuse me, to keep them in. Kind of like Lindsey Graham. These aren't good people. These people are just playing to the script. Their performance has an end date, expiration date, and then they're off to meet their maker or not in the end. And that's what's happening with the majority of them. They've already done their deeds, but I had heard that they would come in right off the bat and pay them $200 million, drop it into a Cayman account, and that's what they live for. Last question, question 10. And I'm sure you're all going, whoo, hey, still under an hour. Question 10, how does the quantum financial system, the QFS, prevent inflationary distortions and central bank manipulation? You should know the answer to this by now, but the QFS is backed by a fixed 100% gold asset reserve. That's what backs XRP. The reserve is so large. It's in the 3600th power, 10 with 3,600 zeros. That's the estimated value of all of the gold and all the other assets that they've seized under Executive Order 13818, 13848, just to give you a ballpark. XRP at 10 to the 6th power functions in a $100 quadrillion global reserve, 10 to the 17th power, and I've already tested that against the GDP for all 209 nations operating 100 quadrillion transactions per second, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And it's good until 2030. And then the incremental value of XRP will go up every 3.2 years, which is a growth rate of, I'm a little tired. At a growth rate, at a growth rate of 22.5% every 3.2 years. Now, I was able to solve that because of something David Schwartz posted, where he presented an answer and the answer was incorrect. But only if you did the math, were you able to decipher what he was really saying. And it took us all the way out to 2062. And at that time, the value would be $1 billion of backing for XRP. And it would be 10 to the 20th power from 10 to the 17th. But see, it ensures that all those transactions are based on real money and not some entry put into a computer. And because of all the gold, there is no inflation, there's no distortions, there's no volatility, and there's no manipulation, because you may have heard that part of the Doge discovery from Elon was they found 14 magic money computers that the Federal Reserve had, where they would just plug in amounts of money and it would just infuse the system with debt. It was like if you walked into your computer and said, hey, I'm going to give myself $100 million. Boop. And you just knew it was there and you start spending it. It's kind of what they did. And this is why they're finding out. Well, they're not finding out. They've already known all this stuff. Their AI computer, Prometheus, has been running this information and finding everything out for years, because the XRPL was running parallel to the global financial system. People didn't really pick up on that. It wasn't widely disclosed. So they just continued to do everything that they were doing, and the system just says, oh, this is where the money goes. Oh, this is where it goes. Oh, this is where it goes. So it designed algorithms, and all Elon had to do was have his team plug in the key, and all the key did was say, did anything change? And within hours, it went in and said, nope, it's all still there. They're still running the same thing. So this is how they were able to get the information confirmed so fast, because they already knew everything. And I talked about this before too. You know, having been in tax and auditing and everything else for 30 plus years, if they were conducting a standard audit, they'd never get it done. But see, using Prometheus, go look up the word Prometheus. It tells you everything that you need to know. But, you know, you're talking about a quantum. I'm not talking about IBM quantum or Google quantum. I'm talking about supernatural phenomena quantum. They had it all. They had it all. So, you know, nobody's using CBDCs. Gold, revalued. Silver, revalued. See, I gotta be careful what I say here. The reason why there's so much news about gold and silver, all of the dealers are going to be out of business. Do you realize they don't even have to have a license or registration, so to speak? You want to be a stockbroker, you got to go pass securities licenses. You want to go sell gold, precious metals, just hang a shingle, get your $10 business license. That's it. Not anymore. Everything's going to be handled by the U.S. Treasury Reserve Banking System. They'll be in charge of all coinage. Why do you think April 2nd is the day Trump picked for Liberation Day? Just happens to be the same day in 1798, or is it 1792, that the Coin Act was created, which allowed and opened the first mints to mint coins. The dollar is the most important thing. And I've said this for a long, long time. It's never been about the good or service. It's always been about the flow of money, the flow of a dollar. And as we come to understand the QFS, and somebody asked me this question the other day, I said, well, Dave, the XRP has to take this ruble, and then it's got this US dollar, and then it's got this yen and all this stuff. And I said, guys, relax. In the accounting world, a dollar's a dollar. And the system brings everything into par. So a dollar in Russia equals a dollar in the US, equals a dollar in Japan, equals a dollar in China, equals a dollar in Singapore, equals a dollar anywhere else in the world. The system doesn't care for a short period of time that it has a name in front of it, because a dollar's a dollar. And I just shared with you something back here. Let me back up for a second. I can't say too much, but I can kind of point to something. Let's see, where's it? This word right here. And I'm not going to say it, but if you really understand this right here, this supports this for this. So if this, then what would we expect? Equality, right? So wouldn't it be fair to say what we may call world currency today is what we call this tomorrow, because everybody's on par? And that's all I can say at this point. So maybe this, I got to be so careful. I'm not going to say it. You have to understand what I'm trying to help you with. This is this. So if this is this and it's this, then everything's the same. Everything's the same. And that's the end. And we had 50 seconds to spare to stay under an hour. Now, I'm going to let everybody know, and this is just for the people that want it. It'll be on the video. But if you want the master's degree, there's 6 extra questions that you'll be able to pick up on. And I'm not going to go into them right now. So, these are for the ones that really want to go the extra mile. They want that advanced degree. They want that extra bit to understand XRP. So the questions are harder. But remember our approach. We don't learn the wrong answers. We only learn the right answer. So we don't put into our head what isn't true. And I think you'll be able to apply that to everything in your life from this moment forward. So with that said, I just want to thank you. I want to thank the nearly 60,000 followers on Twitter. It's been a long haul. We've been under scrutiny. We've been protected. They've been watching. We're not causing change. We are the change. And that's the best way I can put it. Every single day we're shaping the reality of what's coming in front of us. And that's why I am so diligent, spending time with the Lord, getting the downloads, getting the information, finding out how much I can reveal. Because again, there's still, there's security issues here. And there's still open operations that are taking place. There's apprehensions of people. We still haven't seen the 100% of the cleansing. But once the redemption center is over, then we will have seen it, because no evil is going through. I'll say that once again. No evil is going through. You guys have been wonderful. I know how much, let me put it this way. I know how much this means to the Lord for you to be able to receive this information. He has waited 7,800 and nearly 90 years for these days to happen. There's no need for us to be impatient because we haven't been given the keys yet to our quantum access accounts. In fact, the best thing to do is be communing with him and finding out what your plan looks like. Because remember, he already created your plan before time began. And it couldn't happen before now. It couldn't have happened in 2001. That contract had to end, which ended December 21st, 2020. And do you notice how when that happened, everything seemed to accelerate? I mean, time is just skipping by so fast. And we've been held down for so long. And I know everybody has wants. I have wants. I have things that I want. I've been waiting since April 15th of 1994 when I first heard about this from Dan Rostenkowski, who was the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, telling me about all the plans that had been on the chalkboard at the White House since Kennedy. And he said it would take about 30 years. And we're going into our 31st year. April 15th. April 15th on a Gregorian calendar, we subtract 13 days, which is the differential between Gregorian and the Julian calendar. And Trump's always said, make sure you're on the right calendar. That's April 2nd. That's Liberation Day. So if we don't see something big happen on April 2nd on the Gregorian, we know that there's 13 days before it has to happen. And as I posted the other day, the Alliance has instructed President Trump that everything is to be wrapped up before Memorial Day, May 26th. because then we go into 39 days of jubilation. So May 26th to April 4th. I'm sorry, July 4th. And I'll just repeat what everything is. The EBS has gone off. We've had our 3 days of darkness. 3 days of darkness is when the rapture is occurring for evil, which we're not supposed to see. Then we're going to have our 10 days of disclosure, where we're going to be aware of what's going on. 24-hour broadcasting, one channel. Don't worry about how we get notified. All the systems are in place. Don't worry about how you're going to be notified about the Redemption Center. All the systems are in place. Don't listen to the talking heads in these daily reports. A lot of them are just like some of these, they're all paid influencers. They were nefarious, they got caught, they cut their deals, and their deals have an expiration date. But they're also running ops to catch evil people. I mean, I was told something the other day that just flat out knocked my socks off. And that was, if you think that you don't have to have your heart right to go into the Redemption Center, a lot of these people that showed up, we're talking tier 1, 2, 3, 4. 4B is not us, so just don't confuse that and their misinformation to be us, smallholders, going to the Redemption Center, getting the highest rates. But they use the technology to determine these people, and very few passed because it was able to determine their motives, their intentions, and everything was stripped away and they were taken away. You don't want to be one of those people. So you don't want to pick up offense, which means you don't have resentment, ill will, anger towards people. Just lay it down. God's already got it taken care of. Don't worry. They're going to get what's coming to them because God's in charge. It's his kingdom. So that's why we have to go. We have to go there by ourselves, for ourselves. It's our redemption too. And nobody gets anything unless they come out the back door. You don't get into the Redemption Center and then not qualify. You get disqualified before you ever get through the first door. Because the system monitors everything in ways that we never thought possible. So again, I'll close it out with this. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your love and your prayers, your kind words. And know that God is in control. We have nothing to worry about. And that you are his love. Be his love. Until tomorrow, God bless. Take care. Okay, welcome back everybody. We're going to go ahead and pick up on our master's questions. There's just 6, 11 through 16, so we'll get started. Actually, I had to stop and I'm doing this for the second time. I had a technical issue pop up. So here we are, we're going to bring it back. Here we go. Question 11, which of the following is a false narrative about XRP? You'll see at the very bottom of the page I've added an explanation. And because we're asking which one is false, this makes it a lot easier to get the understanding of why it's false. Okay. The answer is C. Answer C says XRP is designed to be the world reserve currency, replacing the traditional fiat currency. And that is false. XRP was not designed to be the world reserve currency. Instead, it serves as what I have coined digital asset collateral within the XRPL QFS 3D. Because remember, there's a 3D and there's a 5D. There's this world, and then there's the quantum aspect. And it facilitates the exchange of value. Okay? We're not talking about the Internet of Value anymore. Brad dropped that a long time ago. That narrative still pops up. It's false. But it's about facilitating the exchange of value. And that's where XRP is. XRP sits on the XRPL. The buyer and the seller, two parties to the transaction, show up instantaneously, and they wish to exchange value. Best Buy wants to exchange the value of the TV, and in return, the buyer is exchanging currency from their Quantum Access account, from their bank, from their credit union. And remember, they're only going to be using banks and credit unions for a minimum of 6 months to 3 years. The sooner people realize that using a bank and a credit union is just an added step in the accounting process, because the system has to account for the money that left your Quantum Access account that was transferred to your bank. Now the system has to account for instantaneously knowing whether that bank or credit union has sufficient assets of its own, not customer deposits, to meet the Basel IV requirement for this minimum 72.5% of high-level quality assets. Now, at this point, Ripple's RLUSD-G, gold-backed, is the only one that meets that requirement. So let's spend a moment talking about that. That's not Tether. That's not Circle. That's Ripple. Ripple's stablecoin. And doesn't it make sense? Why would we bring a third-party stablecoin in, when Ripple is the only one that's going to be qualified to really self-leverage or self-support the stablecoin? And when I make that statement, how is that possible? Well, based on the last Ripple financial statement, or I don't think we can call it a financial statement, it's just a statement of understanding. They had just under 4.5 billion XRP that they purchased in the secondary market. And they own all of the escrow. That belongs to Ripple Labs, Inc. Doesn't belong to anybody else. So that puts them at about 42.5 billion in XRP. Once the buyback happens, they're the richest company in the world. They can self-guarantee all of the RLUSDG by themselves. Won't require the Treasury, even though the Treasury has more money than they do, which was given to them from the Asian elders, the 1 plus the 45 zeros. So that just means the Treasury Department doesn't have to use their reserves. And when we say reserves, it just means all their money. Okay? So a lot of people haven't figured that out. They don't realize that they can self-fund that. So whatever amount of money, these ridiculous amounts of money that, let me cancel that. The amount of money that is being noted for these stablecoins, it's in the billions, and I'll just say, single trillions. But that's nothing when you take, let's just round off to, 37 billion times $1 million. That's a lot of money, people. That's a lot of money. Let me do the math real quick. So how much is that? 37 billion times 1 million is 37 quadrillion. That's 16th power. That is something. And we're only talking about using 100 quadrillion as the entire quantum global liquidity reserve. So they have literally a third of it already. Now, I will tell you this. Where is it going to rest? Where is it going to sit? Where is it going to be guaranteed, protected? It's going to be on the QFS, XRPL 5D, in a company quantum access account, 100% backed by gold. So there isn't any problem with them being in that position, because the XRP on the XRPL for the quantum financial system, it manages everything. It will know what the bank needs pretty much before they ask for it. So it's like the moment that deposit is leaving somebody's quantum access account headed to their bank or credit union in the 3D world, that instantaneous request, think of it as if it was just 1 second. Let's just take 1 second. Okay. I had somebody who was very entrenched in the futures world, and this is what they told me. They said, Dave, 1 second in the futures world is like a year when we start talking nanoseconds, meaning that information is being sent, through the internet, and I'm talking about our crappy 3D internet, and they have tools that literally sniff out constantly in nanoseconds every single account that's connected live. So when I was sitting there trading on my terminal in the futures world through NinjaTrader, their systems were pinging me to find out if I was doing anything. Now, this is what I was able to determine. And I'm going to take this little diversion here because I think it's important we understand this. Our understanding of time is very warped. We do not truly understand or have a concept of time because technically time doesn't exist. We use it. It was used, it's on that prior post I did today. It's been used against us by the foreign bankers, Rothschilds, Khazarian Mafia, to know exactly what we were going to do before we did it. And then in the reality of using AI, it was as if they suspended time. So I said, so 1 second, he said, Dave, he goes, 1 second is like a year in these systems. And it has the ability to do so much before your order even gets there. And it was really interesting because when I found that out, I drilled down into the software, and lo and behold, I found out that they had set, and if you use NinjaTrader, you better go check this. they set a half a second delay in the transmission, which meant the moment I pressed the button, this was very, very early on when I switched over to trade the futures full time with my God-given algorithms. They had a half a second to know what I was doing before my order then took another, I don't know, let's just say 0.3 of a second to get there. So they had 0.8 of a second to know what I wanted to do. So their system could jump in front of me, and this is what these systems are designed to do, front run, push the price up so you'll chase it, and it works both ways. So they can make sure that you pay more and you get less on both sides of the transaction. And I thought, that really stinks. So I figured out how to bypass it and set it to 0. Well, that worked for about a week. And then all of a sudden, I started noticing these things happening again. And I went back in, and they took out that setup. It was gone. So I got on the phone with them, and I said, hey, what's going on? I found the little bug you put in there, setting a default at a half a second before my order actually was sent. And now that feature's gone. I can't adjust that anymore. Oh, well, don't worry about it. I said, no, I am worrying about it because that's not right. And long story short, my computer programmer was actually able to build something into my algorithms to bypass it because, he'd been programming on that platform for over 17 years, working with hedge funds and things like that. But I just thought, man, every single second they were just trying to rip everybody off. But who would go look for that, right? Who would go look for that? And you know how I found it? I had another system that was up and running that I had used in the equity world, and I'm running it for the same item on the NinjaTrader platform, and the time in sales was lagging. And I went, wait a minute. Why is it lagging on NinjaTrader? And that's how I found it. And that's how I would always test it. So I kept this other platform up and paid for it just so I could go in and compare it, because that little tiny bit of time was all it took for them to take advantage. I later figured out that they were monitoring my mouse. If I hovered my mouse over a certain position on the trading screen, it was already anticipating what I was going to do. If I was on the buy button, I was on the sell button. Was I picking a market order? Was I doing a limit order? What was I doing? I mean, it was crazy. Now, we don't have those issues when we make that final transition over to the QFS, because that system is designed to make sure that can't happen. And it's one of the reasons why we don't have stock markets. They don't facilitate the purpose of XRP on the XRPL for the QFS in God's new restored kingdom economy. So we don't have to worry about that. You can't use humanitarian funds in the way that you would think to invest, because we don't earn a monetary return. It's not about that. And we could never put funds at risk. It's all for the restoration of humanity. That's why there's no traders. And all these people that are traders right now who haven't been prepared or aware of the transition are going to be looking for things to do. So where was I? I had to step away for just a quick second. Oh, about the people that think they're going to be traders and crypto traders and all this other stuff going forward. No, none of that. Doesn't exist. We don't need it. We're not like I said, we're not bringing in anything from the old system, which means the old past, into his new kingdom economy. So we don't have to worry about stock markets. We don't have to worry about futures markets. It's not about trying to make money off of somebody else, because that's all those systems did. If I won, somebody else lost. If I lost, somebody else won. In God's kingdom economy, everybody wins. It's fair. It's transparent. So let's look at this question 11 again. Which one of the following is a false narrative about XRP? C. XRP is designed to be the world's reserve currency, replacing traditional fiat currencies. That's false. And here's why at the bottom. XRP is not designed to be the world's reserve currency. Instead, it serves as digital asset collateral within the XRPL QFS 5D. It facilitates the exchange of value. Okay? That's the new term, people. It's not internet of value. It's the exchange of value. XRP stands between the two parties. It verifies everything. It verifies their intentions, everything, before it approves the transaction. Man could not do that. And then it ensures that the liquidity or the guarantee is always sufficient for other third-party systems, and I'm talking the 3D world, to run their activity. And again, that's that extra accounting step that will be gone in 6 months to 3 years. Once everybody's comfortable with the technology. XRP does not replace fiat currencies because fiat currencies that no longer exist within the QFS. Fiat currency is dead. Fed Reserve, dead. XRP operates as a foundation for secure, instantaneous transactions within the quantum financial system. Plain and simple. Sorry about that. Question 12. Which statement about XRP's role in the financial system is false? C. XRP was created to function as a store of value similar to gold, but it will not serve as the new global reserve currency. Here's the explanation. XRP was not created to be a store of value like gold. It is meant to facilitate real-time transactions and provide liquidity, not to act as a store of value or reserve currency. Remember, it's not currency. It's digital asset collateral. And I did that whole analysis with regards to the SEC lawsuit and how they just simply added the letter A to make the statement read, XRP is a security. And we all fell for it. We all went, oh, and that was the disguise in the plan. So everybody got hung up on it. All the attorneys got hung up on it. And then I got the revelation about the placement of the word A. And when you take out the word A, you read it again, it says XRP is security. Bingo. End of story. End of lawsuit. And that's what the Lord had me put out there, to wake up everyone to that fact. I'm sure the day that Brad Garlinghouse saw that report go out, it was like, hallelujah, this thing's going to be over sooner than we thought. And it was pretty much exactly that. It was the catalyst that tore apart the disguise. Now, I know it was timely because that came from the Lord. I couldn't see it. I didn't see it until the Lord said, Dave, what'd you just write? He stopped me and he said, remove the letter A. And I knew the moment he said that, my heart just leapt and I looked at it and I went, in my mind, I went, oh. And he goes, yeah, Dave, it's been sitting right there the whole time. But I didn't go, well, why didn't you tell me? I went, this is fantastic, Lord. Do I get to reveal this? He said, absolutely. It's time. So this is why everything has a time. And I noted the other day that if you go back and look at my post about the 1 month and 25 day cycle that the lawsuit was on, it took us to January 21st. Well, January 20th was the inauguration. So on the 21st, right, Trump was, or actually at 12 noon on the 20th, he was the president again, even though he still was the president, but he was the commander-in-chief. 1 month and 25 days from there was when the SEC announced, oh, we're done. We're dropping the lawsuit. And then the only thing that remained was the amount of the fine that was going to stick. And that went from $125 million. Well, it went from $2 billion to $125 million to $50 million. And it was all mathematics. I thought it could go lower, but it still fit the bell curve to make it happen, which is great. But see, it didn't. They chose not to allow the lid to come off again. And you notice this, the moment that was announced, we saw like a 2-cent increase in the price of XRP. I mean, that just had to gas everybody. All the talking heads whose entire channel is just built on hype, disinformation, pitching their merchandise, just making noise because they're bought and paid for. They're paid influencers who won't tell the truth no matter what because they've probably signed NDAs in order to receive their monthly check. Okay, this is what you can't talk about, Brad. This is what you can't talk about, Zach. This is what you can't talk about, Mikkel. Okay, you can't talk about this either, Linda, and you can't talk about this. So they don't. They're willing to tell you the lies and the disinformation so they can continue to get paid. But it's sad. And God said it's time to call them out. And that process has begun. And they haven't listened to his gentle nudging to let go of the ego and the money and to turn to him. So he's dealing with them directly. And they're all part of that group involved with Link2, which they're labeled by the SEC, who's looking into all this, as illegal brokers. That means financial damages. That means potential prison time for the deception. They've all been monitored by the Alliance. They've been audited by Doge. They know exactly who they are, who they're getting money from, where that money went, and every other shenanigan that they pulled. So they have some choices to make if they still want to be here. Hopefully they make the right ones. I think some of them could be some really nice people or good people. But they've let their ego and their wallets override their brain. So, okay. Question 13. Which of the following is an inaccurate statement about BlackRock and XRP? Oh, I got to tell you, what I said in the first part that got messed up, Father, I just thank you. I just give you praise and thanksgiving right now for having already helped me to remember what I said. Thank you, Lord. inaccurate statement about BlackRock and XRP. BlackRock's creation of an XRP ETF and SEC approval are part of the Global Alliance's plan to manage the transition to a new financial system in line with Executive Order 13818 and 13848, facilitating the voluntary redemption of XRP. Explanation: BlackRock's creation of an XRP ETF is not part of a coordinated effort for voluntary redemption by the Global Alliance. It's a financial product that could bring XRP under the control of traditional institutions that go against core principles. Now, we have to be careful here, okay? Because, and this is why this is the master's course, these questions have little subtleties in how they're asked and what they present. So what looks to be incorrect is really, in some ways, correct, but it's how the question is asked and what the potential answers are that can remove that. And let me speak to this. Okay, we have BlackRock and all these other investment funds under Executive Order 13818, 13848. President Trump, through the alliance, has seized all assets of all these companies. They seized all of the stock markets around the world. They pretty much, well, I should say pretty much, cancel that. They do own all the assets. BlackRock owned 80% of the S&P 500. That now belongs to the alliance. State Street, alliance. Vanguard, alliance. Are you starting to figure out where I'm going with this? Because I'm the only one that's talking about it. I asked God about it a couple of weeks ago, and he read me in on it. Here, the SEC is giving these entities that are controlled by the alliance under the executive orders that Trump set up to create these XRP ETFs. Why? Why would they give BlackRock and all these other investment funds approval to do this, but it looked like they were against XRP, or Ripple, Brett Garlinghouse, etc.? Well, because remember, the SEC was all part of the military witness protection for Ripple. It's the best kept and guarded secret in the world, literally in the universe, because of what it has done. It has removed the Khazarian Mafia, foreign banker, Rothschild, fractional reserve money system. It's dead. XRP is the reason for that. XRP is the master key to the XRPL. You can't run the XRPL without XRP. It's like if I said to you, hey, go start your car. Use this key. And you're like, wait a minute, Dave, this isn't going to work. My car won't start with a Toyota key. Oh, hold on, let me give you another one. And you go, wait a minute, this is a Mazda key. It won't work either. Well, that's the other assets that are ISO 222 compliant. They're like the banks and the credit unions. They're only going to be around for a short period of time to help facilitate getting all this started. The moment people realize they don't need banks and credit unions because it's just creating another step, and they can do everything with their Q phone, they can do everything with their Q laptop, they're going to go shopping and do whatever they want with their quantum debit card. See, none of the young adults, and when I say young adults, I mean 18 to 40. They're just going to use their phone for everything. It's the grandmas and the grandpas that are going to have to be trained to let go of the bank, the old corrupt system, and use the new quantum system. It took people about 10 years to get comfortable using the internet to shop. But once grandma figured out how to get on the internet and buy, and it came right to the house, that was it. Grandma didn't need to go to the store. She could get on the internet and order groceries from Walmart and have them delivered for free. That's what I'm saying. What took 10 years before, when the internet first came around in the beginning of the 90s, they're going to pick this up so fast. I'm thinking 12 to 18 months tops. And all the banks are already slated because they're all directly under ownership, right? They don't own themselves anymore, under the Treasury Department. So while they may look like they're independent, they're not. And all the other financial institutions in the world were all acquired by the Asian elders. So that nefarious element is gone. It's been killed off. But they've already announced that the bank buildings and the credit union buildings will be sold off or auctioned off, and humanitarians will be the only ones able to purchase them, with the hope that they will continue to operate them as financial service centers, FSCs, to help facilitate people in using the quantum internet through Starlink. So I say that because now I'm coming full circle. Thank you for your patience, because these are really critical issues that people don't understand. This has been part of the active operation to redeem XRP voluntarily. So let me give you a scenario. John Smith buys into all the all the news and the hype about BlackRock XRP ETF or the Grayscale or any one of these other operations. So he takes this $100,000 and he writes the check and he sends it over to BlackRock. What does BlackRock do? They turn around and buy XRP. They log into their accounting system that John Smith has X number of shares in their XRP ETF fund. John Smith doesn't own the XRP. He owns the paper. Who owns the XRP? The Alliance, through the executive orders. Wouldn't you consider that a voluntary redemption? Kind of interesting, isn't it? Same thing with Bitcoin. And the SEC is just coming in and approving these things. Because I had a little problem with it in the beginning. I tracked the nefarious activity of Grayscale in the very beginning. And Elon, Doge needs to go and examine them too. But I know it's already been done. And that's why they've been taken over too by the Alliance under the executive orders 13818, 13848. So the more approvals that go through, it just means the more voluntary redemption of XRP. And of course, where's all that going? Treasury. Because ultimately what happens, and this is why there's a buyback that nobody knew about until I came to Twitter. Nobody can own it. Institutions can't own it. It can't be owned, period. Because XRP was never intended to be owned. We're so fortunate that when Trump decided to let them nefariously take the election in 2020, it opened up the door for us to be able to buy XRP. Otherwise, there would have been news that came out, and that's why God brought me to reveal all of this on Twitter. There was a plan to steal XRP from the retail holders, and there would have been no way to keep that from happening if it had not been for the Alliance and what God was doing through Trump and these already established executive orders. See, he signed these executive orders in 2017, 2018, and he put them to work right after the election in 2020. And Joe Biden never revoked them. In fact, he extended them. So I want you to think and understand what this is all about. It's not about all these false narratives. It's about preparing for the transition, which, by the way, has already gone live, and we're just waiting to be notified. I've been told that the Alliance has expressed their desire for President Trump to have all of this wrapped up by Memorial Day, May 26th. Well, May 26th is 54 days from April 2nd. April 2nd is the anniversary for the Coin Act, and I've posted on that. The Coin Act is what created the U.S. Mint to make coins. So apropos. Now we talk about April 2nd, and now, of course, Trump made a comment about that on the March 4th televised show. That was the day that he restored the Republic, which had been taken in 1871, turned us all into chattel. First Republic was established March 4th, 1789. Then we got hijacked. But when he had that meeting with all parties, government parties, mandatory, that was his way of announcing the Republic is back. We're now a sovereign nation again. And you're going to hear a little bit about that coming up, what I can tell you. I'm going to kind of walk the line on that one to give you some further insights. But, you know, most of this is part of the SORAW, Strategically Orchestrated Reality Awareness War, SORAW. It's been very painful because we are at war. Evil has been eradicated. Evil does not go into God's new kingdom economic system called the quantum financial system. You can't have a clean system if you bring in contaminants. And those contaminants are then tested before they're allowed to be processed through the redemption center. So that will be the final purge. There will be a purge during the 3 days of darkness. That's why we're supposed to stay inside. But let me come back to April 2nd. April 2nd, we had 13 days. I'm sorry. If we take April 2nd in the Julian calendar, we have to add 13 days to get to Gregorian. That's April 15th, which just happens to be the day that personal income taxes are due. Isn't that interesting? Now, April 15th of 1994 was the day that I had the surprise meeting with Dan Rostenkowski, chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, who told our little group of maybe 20 people, 20, 25 people, about these plans that have been on the chalkboard at the White House since Kennedy. And it was to privatize the Postal Service. It was to remap Social Security. It was to eliminate income tax, bring in what was called a consumption tax, 14%, only on new items, not on food or clothing or, anything like that. At that time, he said medication. And it's exactly what has transpired. No tax on investments, no tax on real estate. But he said it's going to take about 30 years. Well, that process is being finalized right now. And think about it, we'll have it done in 31 years to the day, April 15th. So I say that because Trump's always said, make sure you're on the right calendar. Well, if that Liberation Day is April 2nd, I believe that is on the Julian calendar, which means we have to go to April 15th or April 14th on the Gregorian for the reset. Isn't it interesting that the 3 days of darkness and the 10 days of disclosure are 13 days? There's a correlation there. So something is going to happen between then. Can't tell you what. Don't know. I'm not asking God. But the military, the alliance, has asked Trump to have everything wrapped up by May 26th. Why? May 26th to July 4th, 39 days, is our celebration, our 250-year celebration. We can't be going through the EBS, the 13 days, the redemption centers during that window of time. They want it all done. Things, have taken a little bit longer than they thought. And I think it's taken about a year more. So I've been waiting roughly 31 years for this, knowing what was coming. Now, I've already said I forgot about it for a lot of years. But, when he brought me over to Twitter and I started working with Jimmy Valley, using my pricing models to determine the price and valuation for XRP and the buyback, it just came flooding back. And I just leaned into it, and he gave me perfect recall. So I say that because we're putting everything in its rightful place. And that's why I'm here. We're not the cause of change. We are the change. Reality is being formed based upon the awareness and revelation that God has revealed. He has me post on the system being able to pay employees at the end of the day, which is biblical. And Brad comes out the very next day and says, oh, I've been thinking about it. Yeah, we can make it so people can get paid at the end of the day, or even the hour, or the minute, or even get paid by the second. And he says the system can handle all of it. Are you understanding what is being said? People aren't picking up what's being said because they don't understand the true narrative, and that's not coming from the paid influencers, the Bradley Kimes and the DI investors and the Linda P. Jones and the Zach Rectors and the Mickles and all these people. Why? Because they've been bought out and they can't talk about it if they want the money. I don't fear man, I fear God. He is my source. He is my protector. These were traps, and the alliance has been dropping more information out there to see who picks it up that's false and then puts it out there because they've already audited every single one of these people, tracing the money. Who were they involved with? All these people were involved with the Link2 debacle. And I made it known very early on. And I approached these people, and I pointed out the fact that they were actually acting as brokers, agents with liability. And now they're all trying to hide so people will forget them. It's kind of like, I look at it. Why would you go to a conference in Las Vegas about XRP from people that don't even tell you about XRP other than what they're paid to say? Doesn't make any sense. So you can hear more lies, so you can hang out and have some drinks, take some pictures. The majority of these people aren't even going to be in the new system because of who they are. Because they don't care about people. They don't care about God. They just care about lining their pockets, and their egos are being stroked. Their wallets are being packed. And at the end of the day, they answer to God. See, they don't answer to me, but God said it was time to call them out. And I told them a long time ago, you need to stop doing what you're doing. You're money changers. You're just like the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Oh no, you're only gonna get the best if you watch my channel. Well, he has read me in so much, but I can say so little. I'm just putting out what he once said. So if you don't want to be linked to these people, it's time to unlink yourself. It's time to abandon them and let them be who they are, and you lean into God. Okay? So question 13 is helping everybody understand that all of these ETF funds, they do nothing for the price of XRP. That's not the objective of the operation. But it's amazing the people that are coming to their aid. I'm sorry, I'm talking about the money changers in Link2. They're all guilty, every single one of them. And that's my opinion based upon what God has written me in on. So if you have an issue with that, take it up with him and he'll square you around because you need to be squared around. Well, there's still time. So you can save your soul. And you know what I'm talking about. But here's our example of how they pull back all of the XRP. And they're getting it for what? $2, $2.50. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Question 14. Thank you for your patience, by the way. Which statement is false regarding XRP's purpose in the quantum financial system? C. XRP's goal is to be controlled by traditional financial institutions and used as an asset for trading like other digital currencies. How many social media influencers out there sing that narrative? Because they're getting paid. Because they won't think for themselves. Because if they talk about it the way I talk about it, nobody will watch their videos. They won't make any money. They'll get banned. So God has said, enough is enough. Just like he said to the Sadducees, like Jesus said to the Sadducees when they confronted him about healing the blind man. And Jesus says, is it better that I heal the blind man or that I don't because it's the Sabbath? And they were just looking for a way to hang him. And Jesus said, well, or even with the woman that they wanted to stone. I thought it was brilliant when he said, he who is without sin can cast the first stone. See, Jesus knew that everyone had partook of their sin nature. I didn't say they were sin. I said they partook of their SIN nature, self-inflicted, narcissistic nature. That's a term that the Lord gave me when I asked him what sin was. And who was the instigator of narcissism? Satan, the biggest narcissist of all. Steal, kill, and destroy. And we all did it. The only difference is he taught us how to call it success. Now I'm here to wake you up. You can put that down. It took me 18 years to do it. And God said, Dave, I can't give you what you've asked me for. Because if I do, I know I will lose you to the world. And I can't lose you. So it wasn't never, it was just not now. But it took 18 years to take my hand out of the gourd and let the grain go. And just lean into him for everything. Because in those earlier years when I thought it was about, fame and fortune and success and everything else, I just came to understand that that was meaningless. Because I was trying to do it in my own strength. And I learned that God had already done everything. It was sitting there waiting for me to do two things. Number one, acknowledge him through Yahusha, Jesus, as my Lord and Savior. That was the promise he made to each and every one of us, that he would provide us with a way home. Everyone, strip the religion away. Because God created man, he created woman. That's it. Didn't create religion. Religion was created to separate and control man. And number two, give him all the praise and glory, all the praise and thanksgiving for having already done it for my life. The moment I did that, everything changed. He began to share more revelation and mysteries and the deep, deep, deep knowledge that can only come from him. That's how I've been able to do all of this. And you guys know that. But that's for the new people. I mean, I don't have the intelligence to create over 20 brand new, never seen quantum financial equations that take us into areas of finance and theories that were bound by the 3D world. No, it all came from him. And he's patiently just showed me how it all is and just laid it out. And how every single Nobel Peace Prize winner or, quantum physics or quantum mechanics discoveries going all the way back to basic geometry with Euclid, if none of those had taken place, what he had shown me now wouldn't exist, period. But it's like just having your mind just blown apart. That dream about Einstein at the chalkboard and the three gentlemen who I couldn't see telling him, we have to drop the E, we have to drop the E. And getting that dream before the three winners of the 2022 Nobel Peace Prize in Physics were announced. And it was that discovery that enabled me to tell Jimmy Valley, the answer is here, right here. The fifth dimension is real, and it's already taken care of any limitation that was brought on by the 3D world. No limitation on the transaction speed for XRP transaction approval. But we can only do 1,500 on this crappy 3D internet. On the quantum, it's like, it's just done. That's why it's so guarded. It's such a secret. That's its purpose. And because its purpose is so strong, it's not about cross-border payments. It's not about the piddly stuff. It's about removing evil from the world, breaking its hold. And you don't think the military was going to protect that? You don't think that they were going to come and create some story and make it look like something was happening? They fooled all you people. And then all you paid influencers just added on top of it. Surprise! I've already started writing that book. And it's about 90% done. And you're all going to come to understand Gary Gensler chose to be the lamb. He chose to take the hits because he knew the importance of what he was doing. Now, that doesn't mean he didn't have a nefarious background before and cut his deal and did his part. And when it was time for him to walk away, because we're moving into the activation, even though it's already activated, of the quantum financial system. He's like, Coach, just tell me where I need to go, and I'll just walk out the door. But see, so many people bought into the lie spread on Twitter and other platforms, and they picked up a fence. Now, you can't have a fence if you're going to make it through the redemption center and not be part of the final purge. The purge is the rapture, people. That's straight to the lake of fire. That's hell. Okay? I'm just going to lay it out there. And if the truth hurts, it's supposed to. If you picked up a fence, if you watched that stupid movie about XRP, that was a plan by the enemy, by the way, to get you to pick up a fence. And so many of you have. But you gotta lay it down. You have to cover it with love and understand God's been in control since before time began. So I'm going to ask you right now, I'm going to ask you a really important question. Can you put down your offense? Can you realize that you were duped? Can you turn your back on these people that led you into this situation, knowing that you have a way out now? You know what's necessary. You know what to do because you don't want to be part of that group. They will take you to the pit of hell if you continue your ways. God's been having me talk about this for the last 3 years. So it's nothing new if you're new listening today. It isn't about the intel. It isn't about the deep dive. This is about you getting right with God. There's no second chance to make a perfect first impression because there are systems in place that they'll know when you get on the phone to schedule your appointment. And if you can't, you might as well say your goodbyes because you're not going into his new economy. No, 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 no. And it wasn't my intention to make this part of this broadcast. The Holy Spirit's telling me right now what needs to be said. And I'm obedient because I answer to the Lord. I don't answer to man. But if one person has their life saved because of this, then it was all worth it. And if somebody out there picks up offense over what I'm saying, you were never intended to go through anyway. And I'm not being callous. He's declared me his messenger to reveal his word in Revelation. And that's what you're hearing. I have no ill will towards anybody. I don't harbor any resentment. I don't pick up any offense. Why? Because I know who my dad is. I know what he's already done. And none of us should be jeopardizing that for a click, for a follow, for an invitation to a conference. You were so important to the Lord that he would have me do this. Didn't tell me this was coming, but we are so close. My gosh, it's March 30th. You still have time. If you need to get on the floor and snot and ball. If you need to take a walk and just cry out to the Lord, then do it. You're too important not to. Your family, your children, your everybody. You have the opportunity to be the one. And I'm just going to lay it down right there. I'm just going to cover it with love. Because God cares, I care. I don't want to see anybody not make it through. But I know there's going to be about 8 billion people. Over 3 billion people that aren't going to be here. That's a fact. And I've been told my number's too low. It's more like 50%. Okay? It's 50%. But the ones that remain are all good-hearted. They understand love because that's the new economy. The foundation is love. The language is love. The currency is love. And the return is love. Okay? Let's go to 15. Let's get this wrapped up. What happens if somebody rejects the XRP buyback offer? How many people have you heard out there saying, I'm not giving up my XRP, I pry it out of my dead hand? Well, they don't have to do that. You won't be here. David Schwartz has already announced. Oh, by the way, we can move XRP to another with one switch. Redemption Center. That's how your XRP goes from your Quantum Access account, where it's being mirrored right now, right into the proper account, which is the Ripple custodial wallet, because they're the fiduciary for this. The Treasury doesn't want to hold it, so that's why we just saw the trademark for Ripple. And I have another video coming out that talks about that. I have to be careful what I say here. Don't say too much too soon. But it's all being taken care of. So the question is, what happens if somebody rejects the XRP buyback? B, if someone rejects the XRP buyback, they can continue holding XRP and freely trade it on open markets just like traditional assets. So again, this is one of those false questions. The explanation is XRP has real utility. Of course it does. It's the master key, and it facilitates all global transactions. All global transactions. All global transactions. Providing instant liquidity access across global financial systems. It's not a speculative asset, which means it's not a commodity. It's the master key which controls the XRPL on the QFS. So again, the key goes into the system. Now the system does everything it needs to, from creating smart contracts to managing the flow of money that needs to move, that's temporarily borrowed by a bank or a credit union, through the Treasury Department to cause the release of additional RLUSDG, the gold-backed stablecoin. The only stablecoin we will use, by the way. Last question. What happens if someone rejects the XRP buyback offer? What's the correct answer? If somebody rejects the XRP buyback offer, they will not be allowed to sell or transact their XRP in the future, as there will be no open markets for XRP. Explanation. Rejecting the buyback means XRP holders will not be able to sell or transact their XRP in the future, since no open markets will exist for trading XRP after the buyback process. And it's funny because you listen to these people that don't know anything, and they're the ones that are like answer B. Well, I'm not taking a buyback. I'm just going to continue to hold it because all these talking heads are telling me how I'm going to make money on it, and I'm going to be able to freely stake it or trade it or leverage it or borrow against it. Well, think about it. Let's just use some common sense here. If you are aware of the pricing that came right from God, not a penny less, when we have the opportunity to accept the invitation, we accept, we go to the terminal, it shows us how much we have in XRP, we confirm that, and then we enter our price in whole dollars. You can enter 1, 100, 10,000, if that's, if you're just listening to talking heads, or you can enter $1 million. And when you press the enter key, it's going to show confirmed. And in that very instant, $1 million is going to be put into your Quantum Access account to replace your XRP. And your XRP is going to be transferred with one switch automatically into the custodial wallet account for Ripple. Bingo. It's done. But see, the ones that aren't getting the truth, they think that they're just going to stake it and make some interest on it. Well, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to say, well, if I can get $1 million today, why do I want to keep it when there's no market for it in the future? If there's no market for it, how am I going to stake it? And even if I could stake it, and it's not going to increase in value to $1 million, and I'm going to get like 4% on it a year. You're not using common sense. You're stuck in the third world. And this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to break through all of this stinking thinking, because you're not going to hear it from these other people. You're basically getting shinola from them. They don't want you to succeed. You know what? This is a good place to end. Thank you. For those of you that stuck it out and completed the master course, congratulations. You know so much more than all of those paid influencers and talking heads out there. You got to feel really good about that. Nobody's going to be able to tell you what you haven't heard today. So all those fake narratives, they're gone. They're over. You've now been given a new mind to understand this. And you should be excited. I'm excited for you. My gosh. Send me a reply on Twitter that says, Dave, after I went through and watched this video about XRP, I would have accepted $100 for my XRP per token. Now I am totally in agreement, and I know what to do at the Redemption Center. I'm entering $1 million. Thank you very much. And then praise God, because he's the one that made all this possible. I'm so happy for you. I really am. I know this day just changed your life forever. I've got another video I'm working on. It's going to come out soon, if things don't happen sooner. So it's all about you. That's why I do this. That's why I'm here. I carry his banner, and I serve him to serve you. So I love all of you. God bless, and we'll see you soon.